Hello friends, welcome to my channel on Anamika Pharma Academy. Today we'll talk about the classification of antihistamine and histamine pharmacology. Now what is histamine? Histamine is derived from histose word that means tissue. Histamine is a physiologically active amine present in plant and animal tissue, and histamine released from mast cells, granules, by allergen trigger binding on a specific allergic antibodies IgE and induce degranulation. It's a part of an allergic reaction. Histamine present mostly in mast cells, in skin, lungs, GIT, mucosa. Non-mast cells, histamine present in a brain, gastric mucosa. It involves in inflammatory and hypersensitivity reaction. As you can see this image is mast cells. The purple color is the whole mast cells and they have granules. As you can see, the green balls are the granules which contain the histamine, and they also contain nucleus. The dark one is the nucleus vacuums, and the V shape is the specific antibodies IgE, and the yellow one is the antigen. They attack on the specific antibodies, that is IgE, then trigger the allergic reaction. After that, the degranulation, the histamine are released. Histamine mode of action. The site of histamine stored in granules of mast cells in the blood, it is the basophils. It stimulates gastric secretion, basically stimulate the H2 receptor, cause dilation of capillaries, contraction of bronchial smooth muscles, decrease blood pressure. Intradermal allergic response means triple response like red spot, wheal, itching and reflex arteriolar dilation, and release basically in brain neurotransmission in the part of the brain. In the diagram, the orange part is the mast cell and a small red part is the granules which contain the histamine, and the grey part is the allergen. They attach in a specific antibody, that is IgE. They trigger the mast cells and they release histamine. Synthesis of histamine. Histamine is a hydrophilic molecule consisting of an imidazole ring and amino group attached by 2-methylene group, formed by the decarboxylation of the amine acid histidine by the enzyme L-histidine decarboxylase enzyme. If histamine is not stored, it is rapidly inactivated by the enzyme amine oxidase. As you can see the structure of the histidine and histamine, they converted in histamine with the presence of L-histidine decarboxylation process. Now histamine receptor, there are 3 types of receptor. First is H1 receptor, second is H2 receptor, third is H3 receptor. Now H1 receptor, it increase the calcium level. They are responsible for the smooth muscle contraction, increase capillary permeability, vasodilation, in sensory nerve ending pain, itching. The second receptor increase the cyclic AMP, responsible for the increasing gastric acid secretion in the stomach and in blood vessels, cause vasodilation, increase capillary permeability. Now third receptor is H3 receptor, that is present basically in presynaptic autoreceptor. They decrease the cyclic AMP and decrease the histamine release and decrease the all secretion in the body like gastric acid, like HCl, pepsin, salivary gland secretion. The all secretion are decreased and cause vasodilation in the blood vessels. Now the classification of antihistaminics. Antihistaminics drug are divided into two categories. First is first generation H1 histaminics drug, and second is second generation H1 antihistaminics drug. Now first is first generation drug. First generation drug H1 receptor पे जाके बाइंड होती है. दे आर फ्रीक्वेंट बट आर जनरली माइल्ड ड्रग में आती हैं. ये बेसिकली कॉज करती हैं सेडेशन, डिमिनिश करती है अलर्टनेस को, ब्लर विजन कर देती है, कंसंट्रेशन लो कर देती है, लाइट हेडनेस कॉज करती है लाइट में, और मोटर एक्टिविटी को कम कर देती है, टेंडेंसी टू फॉल स्लीप, हमेशा नींद आती है, एंड अलर्टनेस को कम कर देता है, एंड अल्टर कर देता है बोवेल मूवमेंट को. ये सारे सिम्टम इसके कॉमन सिम्टम है. बेसिक ऑब्जेक्ट जो है वो impairment of psychomotor performance, and these affect as do other CNS depressant. Now the first generation drug are classified in three categories. First is highly sedative. Now what is sedative? Sedative is induce the sedation, decrease the concentration, decrease the motor activity. That means sedative drugs. Now example of the highly sedative drugs are diphenhydramine, dimenhydrinate, promethazine, hydroxyzine. ये सारे फर्स्ट हाईली सेडेटिव ड्रग्स के एग्जाम्पल्स हैं जो कि हाईली सेडेटिव हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा सेडेशन कॉज करते हैं. और इसका एक मैंने ब्रांड नेम यहाँ पे लगा रखा है जिसका नाम है एलर्जी टैबलेट. ये डाइफेनहाइड्रामीन की ब्रांड नेम है. नाउ सेकेंड इज मॉडरेटली सेडेटिव. ये मॉडरेटली सेडेशन कॉज करती है, ना ही ज़्यादा ना ही माइल्ड, बहुत ना कम. ना द एग्जाम्पल्स फेनिरामीन, सिप्रो, हेप्टाडीन, मैक्लिजीन, सिनरिजिन. ये सारे मॉडरेटरी सेडेटिव्स ड्रग के अंदर आते हैं. ना थर्ड इज माइल्ड सेडेटिव. माइल्ड सेडेटिव कम सेडेटिव्स होती हैं, मीन्स कम सेडेशन कॉज करती हैं. इसके एग्जाम्पल्स है क्लोरफेनरामीन, डेक्सक्लोरफेनरामीन, एंड डाइमेथिडीन, एंड ट्रिप्रोलिडीन, साइक्लिजीन. Now next is second generation antihistaminics drugs. Antihistaminics drugs of the second generation drug, they highly H1 selective drugs. They have no any anticholinergic side effect. Absence of CNS depressant property are cause less sedation, additional anti-allergic mechanism apart from histamine blockage. Some also inhibit late phase allergic reaction by acting on leukotriene or by antiplatelet activator factors effect. Second generation drugs में highly sedative ड्रग्स जो हैं वो नहीं आते हैं. ये सेडेशन कॉज नहीं करते हैं, ना ही एंटीकोलिनर्जिक साइड इफ़ेक्ट्स शो करते हैं, और ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा इफ़ेक्टिव है. सेकेंड जनरेशन ड्रग्स अगेंस्ट काम करती है, इनहिबिट करती है रिलीज ऑफ हिस्टामिन को, और लेट फेज ऑफ एलर्जिक रिएक्शन को इनहिबिट करती है. Now second generation antihistaminic drug example, first is fexofenadine, loratadine, desloratadine, levocetirizine, elastin, mesolastin, rupatadine. These are the second generation drug and they less sedatives. Now the pharmacology action of antihistaminics. Antihistaminic drugs are block the histamine receptor. They are block the action of histamine that reduce the effect mediated by histamine and block the histamine release during an allergic reaction. The histamine antagonists are block the histamine induce allergic reaction. Triple response like redness, wheal, itching, angioedema, urticaria like red patches, skin rashes and swelling, as you can see the image. It's inhibit the H1 receptor responsible for the constriction of GIT in gastric intestinal tract, and bronchial smooth muscle cause contraction like seasoning, coughing, inhibiting, and it cross the blood-brain barrier triple B and inhibit the histamine neurotransmission in brain. Now the therapeutic uses of antihistaminic drugs. They are used for allergic rhinitis and used basically in common colds, and एलर्जिक डर्मेटाइटिस, इचिंग, आर्टिकेरिया में हम सबसे ज़्यादा एंटीहिस्टामिनिक्स का यूज़ करते हैं. कॉमन इसमें है सिट्राजिन या तो कह लें. माइल्ड ब्लड ट्रांसफ्यूजन रिएक्शन में भी यूज़ की जाती है. एलर्जिक कंजक्टाइविट्स में भी यूज़ की जाती हैं. एंड मोशन सिकनेस में भी एंटीहिस्टामिनिक्स के कुछ फर्स्ट क्लास से और सेकंड क्लास से भी हम ड्रग्स लेते हैं मोशन सिकनेस के लिए. इन द लास्ट फिगर यू कैन सी द एलर्जन. दे अटैक ऑन द स्किन. कॉन्टैक्ट में आता है डर्मेटाइटिस मीन्स स्किन के कॉन्टैक्ट में आता है एंड दे कॉज द एलर्जिक रिएक्शन. You can see the red patches and swelling and itching, and you can compare the normal skin to allergen skin. I hope you understand. If you like this information, please like the video and subscribe the art channel. Thank you.